To start with, I think what General Murthy said in terms of, the new cabinet, we know is not at all encouraging. We don't know what on earth is going to go. Oh, by the way, if you can't hear me, just Mr. Shankar, could you just raise your hand if you can't hear me? Because my
we can hear
connection
you.
is bad. Yeah.
Tara, we
So
can hear you.
we've got the new, and most of us would have analyzed the new cabinet. And of course, the worst is the Interior Ministry, which is being headed by Sirajuddin Haqqani. And I expected that he would get the border and tribal affairs, which was what his father had, and which is very relevant to Pakistan. But this is definitely a step up and is very relevant to terrorism, because it's the Interior Ministry which looks at, which is supposed to look at terrorism in the country. You know that if you look at the organogram of the Afghanistan Interior Ministry, you will find it has a lot of power. It has looks at counter narcotics. It has its own intelligence. It has a force of about 99,000, which I was very surprised. I didn't think it was so large. It has a counter narcotics division. I mean, imagine that. It is like asking the fox to guard the hen coop. So you've got Haqqani in charge of this ministry. So our first conclusion here is that he's not going to do anything very great. I mean, we cannot expect that he's going to pounce on terrorists left, right, and center unless they challenge the Taliban. That is the reservation as far as Haqqani is concerned. He will not like any group coming and, sort of upstaging the Taliban at any point. Or maybe they will cooperate, but I'll come to that eventually. If we look at UN reports, I mean, since you said this thing is to look at the interplay between groups and how that's going to pan out. We all know the ISI Haqqani connection. I don't think there's even any need to dwell on that. It is a given. Let's say that it is not. It is the most. If you analyze the attacks, it is the most capable organization. It has the best fighters. It has the best elite, what you call the red units. This is you can almost say it's like a commando force, within the Taliban. These are people who control what's going on in the military area. Now, if we look at the last, say, at least 6 years, who has the Taliban fought against inside Afghanistan is only the Islamic State Khorasan. That too, when I say Islamic State Khorasan, I'm referring to the ones who have apparently had this whole Raqqa connection, who have given bayat to the Syrian arm. Now, please remember, there are different modules of ISK. So don't assume it's one cohesive unit. It is not. So there are bits of ISK in the north, there's one in the east, and there's one in Kabul, and there are little ones here and there. You look at all the operations of Taliban is against in the north and in the east, where the ISK apparently is operating. Now, right now, even as we speak, there is definitely an Islamic State element still operating, not very large. No, not really. Syrian fighters are not coming running to Afghanistan.
Tara, we can't hear you. Tara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, there was a bit of a disruption.
Just the last 20 seconds of yours, but
yeah.
YouTube is still going live.
Now,
sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Now we are live. Please go ahead.
Okay, so what we need to look at is the Islamic State Khorasan in Kabul, which is very different from the rest of its compatriots elsewhere. They all call themselves ISK. This group has, we don't know who it is. We don't know who leads it. We have very, very little information about this group. I'm sorry, I think have I gone off again?
No, we can.
No, now we can hear you. Just go ahead.
So this group is able to, despite anything, is able to launch these huge attacks like the last airport one, The targets they select are also very strange. It is against Afghan ministers. It is against Indians like the Sikh, the ones against the Gurudwara, earlier a Sikhs and Hindu procession in Kabul. Also remember the ISK claims everything. So you have to sift through and see which one is a credible ISK threat and which is not. So what emerges is that the ISK in Kabul seems to be very powerful, very capable, and able to command a large number of suicide bombers, explosives, etc. Whereas the ISK attacks in Nangarhar, Paktia, in the north are two bit small, very, very small attacks, which sometimes don't even get reported. So this is the difference. Now, recently, you would have heard a very strange interview from CNN of an ISK person in Kabul openly. He's not hidden. He's giving interviews in Kabul and saying, I've got Pakistanis, I've got Indians, I've got everybody. Now, here is a group which, according to the President Biden, is the sworn enemy of the Taliban. And he's sitting in Kabul openly giving an interview. So that's why I say there is an ISK in Kabul, which we need to evaluate very carefully. It is one threat, and the other threat is the ISL, normal Islamic State linked to Syria. That one is a threat to us, definitely, because it has a few, a bunch of Keralites. There are, if you remember, in recent days, the National Investigation Agency has arrested a group in Karnataka and in Kerala and a couple of, and including in Kashmir. It was a module where the women had gone to Syria. So you see, you have the Islamic State Syria connection also, so that is a separate one threat, and the other threat is this Kabul wala. My estimate is that the Kabul one ISK is nothing but the Haqqani network. So that is how we stand. So here we have one group. Now then you have the who else is the Taliban fighting in terms of terrorism? They're not fighting anybody, right? You have a bunch of, you've got the Al-Qaeda, which is sitting very quietly in Afghanistan, and which the UN rapporteur says is very anxious not to create too much of noise and things like that, and is aligned, except in the middle of this year, Al-Qaeda chose to put out this public acknowledgement of its attacks, which it never does. That is unusual. So whenever in terrorism, the moment you see a blip, you have to analyze what it is. So why did Al-Qaeda, this was after the March, the agreement with the United States, the US is leaving, Al-Qaeda decides to lay claim to a bunch of attacks across Afghanistan. So there is a possibility that Al-Qaeda, which has always in the past been better funded, better resourced, and with better degree of cadres than the Taliban. They have educated, they've got people, they've got they had some very sophisticated cadres, may decide to come back into Afghanistan. And actually, Al-Qaeda means a base. So it might actually want to create a base in Afghanistan. Now we need to see whether Sirajuddin Haqqani will allow that or not, because my guess is probably not. But that depends. It's a very, very strong, but the probability is very shaky at present. We don't know. Then there are a bunch of other groups from Central Asian, the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, which has been around for decades. Now here is another interesting thing. The IMU was once had good 2,000 plus cadres, and in over the last year or maybe year and a half, they have been virtually decimated. So there is advantage to being nice to the Taliban. Let's put it that way. So my assumption is somebody has approached the Taliban and told them to sort these guys out, and they have been sorted out by and large. That is the IMU. Curiously, though, the ETIM, East Turkestan Islamic Movement, and its associated partners are active in Badakhshan. Now you'll notice that all these groups are active along the borders wherever they have a problem with, like Uzbeks along the Uzbek border, the ETIM along the Chinese border. Now you start looking at how the Taliban virtually took over the whole of Badakhshan and stabilized it. So now I am pretty sure the ETIM is not going to be able to operate in Badakhshan. So that is the second thing which we can, it's not a given, but that is what we see the trend as working, that if you're nice to the Taliban, they might just sort out some of your problems. And then of course you have a bunch of others, like, in terms of, there are these small groups which are operating, all of which I have at some time or the other been cooperating with the Haqqani network. That includes the Tehreek-e-Taliban, the groups. I mean, it's not one cohesive group, it's a bunch of groups which call themselves Tehreek-e-Taliban. They have certainly been involved in operations with Taliban. The Haqqanis come across as a kind of as a sort of a central node, which then gives out instructions, it's a very curious structure. And then on the other hand, you have the Tehreek-e-Taliban, which is attacking Pakistan. So the point is that I don't think a group remains TTP and wears a t-shirt saying TTP. He can be TTP today, he can be Lashkar tomorrow. Now, in that sense, please remember whatever happened to this Aslam Farooqi. I don't know how many of you all remember him. He was once head of the Islamic State. Earlier to that, he was in Lashkar-e-Taiba, and then he was put in prison, and then he disappeared. So that is a typical case of how things work out in Afghanistan. Aslam Farooqi, we were not allowed to interrogate him, though he was responsible for the Gurdwara attack. He was not sent to Pakistan either, though he's a Pakistani national. And he was not killed in the prison when the Taliban took over the prisons. He was not killed, but his predecessor was killed. So what I'm trying to say is, we really can't say that A will remain ISIL or TTP or anything. He may change from anything to anything else. That is the kind of stuff which we're seeing.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. That you want to wrap up in a minute too?
Yeah. Last thing, I think I'm done. I think we look at the Kashmir issue. There are people here with far more knowledge than I have. Just one sentence is that Kashmir, in my experience, the groups there will not welcome Islamic State. They are being overshadowed by the Islamic State. And with the reservation that IS, when I say Islamic State, I'm still talking of a bunch of people who are technically probably far more savvy than the others. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Ma'am, just one
Thank you
thing.
very much, Farah.
Sorry, General, do a quick one.